On this final day, that is of day 6 of our ATAL faculty development program organized here at Dr. Viziroy Polytechnic, it is a pleasure to welcome you all and especially our esteemed speaker, Dr. Obijit Banerjee sir, Associate Professor in the ECE department at Dr. Viziroy Engineering College. Dr. Banerjee completed his BTech from Meghnad in the year 2006 and MTech from the University of Calcutta in the year 2008. He earned his PhD degree from NIT Durgapur in the year 2020 and he is currently also serving as a mentor of AICTE Idea Lab at Dr. Viziroy Engineering College. His research interests include machine learning, deep reinforcement learning, generative adversarial network and digital communication. With several years of rich academic and research experience, he brings valuable expertise to this session which is going to help today on cloud computing. So to felicitate him, I would request Mr. Shwantu Gundu sir of CST department to felicitate him with the flower bouquet. Thank you, sir. Now I would request Dr. Obijit Banerjee sir to continue with today's session. Thank you.
Good morning. In the last few sessions, I hope you have been acquainted with the word as cloud computing. There are two words. There is a word called cloud and there is a word called computing. We will now break it down in those two words into independent paradigms as well as introduce some sort of an AI into it. What has AI to do with cloud? What is cloud? What has AI to do with cloud? First and foremost, जो भी है slide में, if I go one by one with slides, first we have this agendas. I will go very brief. First one is the foundations. What is AI and ML to do with the cloud? Next is generative AI, and then there is applications. Before going into anything, let us think about what is cloud. Cloud है क्या? I know you have been acquainted with the word cloud for the last 5 days. It is already done, but still, how many of you are from the ECE background, electronics or CSE background? Most of you are, correct? Now, the thing is, what cloud actually does, it stores some sort of an information and then computes on it. Then, if I have to store something, how do I store? What do I do with this? Digital systems are mostly binary. Digital is not actually binary. Binary is just a single form of digital. We have 10 fingers, so it's a finite number system. 10 fingers, one decimal number system. So any finite number system is a digital number system. Now, if I remove 8 of them and have only 2 states, we have a a binary number system. Binary and then octal and then hex, so forth and so on. So we have only zeros and ones. If Shakespeare had to write his entire Macbeth using only zeros and ones, would that be possible? If there was only an alphabetical system जहाँ पे आपका there is only A and B, would it be possible for anybody to write an entire thesis? It's not that possible. If I go back to this Mandarin or the Chinese, so-called Chinese, they will write something illegible, a single letter, but that will describe an entire paragraph. Why? Because they have got 10 lakh independent characters. What I meant to say is the number of characters or the number of alphabets in any language, in our language, in our terms, the number of finite states to represent a particular field will also increase the entropy of every single bits, every single alphabets. The probability of a single alphabet describing an entire paragraph will be much higher. The entropy will be much higher. Now, why do we have to do with binary? We have octal, we have hex, we have decimal, so why binary? Because we engineers love something which is called as we have to make it finite and we have to make it simpler. So digital binary is the most simplest form. Is it efficient? No. We still are stuck with this binary, but it is not that efficient. Had there been a number system with 10 lakhs, it would have been more efficient. Somebody someplace has to store them. How do I store a single bit? एक single bit को how do I store? We have something known as flip-flop. Have you ever heard of that? Flip-flops. JK flip-flop, SR flip-flop, and so forth and so on. It stores a single bit. If there are n number of bits being stored in an array, we have a single register. A bank of registers will provide you a full memory bandwidth, which is your USB pen drives, hard disks, SSDs and all. NAND flop gates. Now NAND flop gates, that single flip-flop ko leke, if I have to make a proper storage device, then I will have to arrange them in an array. Then somebody someplace has to store them. That storage is a part of the cloud. So one of the part is a cloud system will have something to store enormous number of bits. So storage is a part of it. Second is, what do I do with it? Once we have the storage done, I have to put some sort of a process to compute on this storage space. So there is one called storage, another one is called as a compute. When two independent things, storage and compute, are being provided somewhere, someplace else, we call this as a cloud. Let's say there is a soldier. My soldier is my brave soldiers are in the army and all. That personnel is my soldier. My enemy's enemy. Similarly, that storage space, that compute is a cloud for me. But the person or the institute who is hosting that is not a cloud for them. That is an on-premise system. So my cloud is somebody's on-premise. That is to be also understood. Not everything हम cloud बोल के छोड़ देते हैं और भूल जाते हैं कि that has to be placed somewhere. That server has to be placed somewhere. Somebody has to make sure I have a big server, I can store things, I can compute. Then what? Then comes the business paradigm, the financial paradigm. I can make sure that my infrastructure is sold to you either by hiring process, rental process, or in bulk. That produces an entire system called as a infrastructure as a service. So we have three things. A cloud has a storage, a cloud has a compute. Somebody is providing this entire thing, infrastructure, as a service, which is called as infrastructure as a service, IaaS. Some other guys will put some service onto this. Some people, some companies will work only on the compute section. Some will work only on the storage section. If somebody works only on the storage section, we have a storage server. Somebody works on the compute section, we have a compute server. दोनों को एक साथ अगर एक जगह पे लेके आते हैं, then we have a complete infrastructure. Google provides both the service as a compute as well as the storage. So as Amazon, Azure and all. हमारा benefit क्या है? As a layman or a normal person, what benefits do I get from the cloud? Number one, compute and storage has an inherent cost imbibed in it. Can we handle it? Let's say this college, let's say my own college. Can we handle a storage server or a file server or a web server which caters to 10 million people? No, we can't. Not because we cannot hire or buy up storage and all. Storage is almost cheap. Compute is the only thing that is boggling us down. Storage हो जाएगा, compute में दिक्कत है. So somebody someplace has to provide that compute. Google is doing it, Microsoft is doing it, Azure services and all. Amazon is obviously doing it, that they are the highest market share. What is our purpose? Our purpose is to get those systems, get those services and build something on it. So we as engineers who has got no access to a powerful server, both in storage as well as compute, can build or rent them and build an intelligent system on it. If you, the name starts with building intelligent applications. That is where I want to put my focus on. My focus will be on intelligent applications. What we can build on those servers. Am I clear with this that cloud services, cloud storage, etc. is beyond our reach? We cannot put them into practice. अगर पैसा है तो सही है, नहीं तो नहीं है. But what we can actually do is this, building intelligent apps. Now comes what is intelligence? Intelligent app, कोई भी clever algorithm is done as intelligent thinking. Using AI. Difference between intelligent apps and AI. We actually put them into a single bracket. Any app which does anything is an intelligent app. I have seen my students do something called as a simple for loop in a programming sequence with lots and lots of if-else statements, and they call this as an AI. Is it AI? Intelligence is something which is not particularly measurable until now. Abhi tak we have got no way to quantify intelligence as a whole. We have a qualitative analysis. We think that if it thinks or provides an inkling of thought process, it is an AI. No. So now differentiate between intelligent systems, intelligence and AI. Intelligence is something which is described by Descartes, some 1700 philosophical paradigm. Descartes said intelligence cannot be quantifiable, but it can be measured by the qualitative analysis of how much time a system spends on thinking the steps in a process to reach a goal. So I have got three words now: time, steps in a process, and end goal. Put that into our engineering perspective. We have an input, we have a transfer function, and then we have an output. So input, output known है, बीच में है मेरा transfer function. So I need to have some sort of a way to figure out how this transfer function is formulated. If-else statements, which my students do, is basically on a deterministic system, whereas AI is not based on any deterministic systems, but based on stochastic systems. So there are two systems, stochastic and deterministic. If I have to sum up AI in a single sentence, I'll say, go with the equation y equals to f of x. Simple sentence. Y is my dependent variable, x is my independent variable. Do I know f? That function. If the f is known, never use AI. Never ever say the word AI. Build an if-else statement, wala koi bhi program, and that will do fine. Never do that. If the equation is known, use the equation. That will provide you an exact solution. AI is only required when y is equal to f of x and the f is not known, then we need to have an approximator which maps the y to the x. So AI can be summed up in only one single sentence. It's a glorified approximator and nothing else. I belong to the field of AI. I do a research on AI, but I will still say it's a glorified approximator system which maps x to my y. I never use AI because it provides suboptimal solution and not the exact solution. Never use it when the equation is known. When the Ohm's law, V is equal to IR. Why would I use AI to figure it out the values of R and I? I'll not do that. But if any system, weather forecasting, there are n number of parameters which the nature has provided, which is not known to us, which is not quantifiable by us, then the f is not known. Then use AI. So intelligent apps belongs to two independent parts. One is a deterministic system when we know what the client wants and what I have to do with it. That is also an intelligent system. Intelligence has nothing to do with AI as a whole. Second one is a stochastic system where the client wants something which is very vaguely understood by the mass. Then use AI. Example systems. There we have a healthcare AI system. In a healthcare AI system, the problem statement says the regional hospital, let's say Mission Hospital, has a network, and there is an X-ray department. Lots of patients are coming for this X-rays, which will lead to a lot of queue in the radiology department. How do I reduce this queue system? Average turnaround time. That second line and the second thing is average turnaround time. If my report reaches the radiology department and it lingers there for a long time, then the queue will also linger for a long time. Then the most important way from an engineering perspective is I need to identify what are the parameters that is creating this long queue and how do I make sure that these are reduced. So every problem, intelligent app का कोई भी problem is either three things: maximizing, minimizing, optimizing. So either I have to maximize a parameter or a set of parameters, or minimize a set of parameters, or optimize such that there is a trade-off. That is a Lagrangian weighted multiplier. So here we have to make one thing for sure. I have to make sure the radiology department computes the X-rays faster. If it does it faster, do it faster, then the entire queue will also run faster. So my first parameter is compute has to be faster. Faster, slower, higher, lower, engineering. We have to quantify and make everything finite. We need numbers. We love numbers. So we need to minimize the time required. I need to minimize the compute time. In our language, that is known as a throughput and a latency. So latency has to be reduced and the throughput has to be higher. And the time has to be lower. So I have got time, I have got latency, both will be reduced. If I have to write an equation for this, objective function, my objective function, agar mere ko likhna hai, what will these two things be? Numerator or denominator? Upar jayega ya phir niche jayega? I have to reduce them. So if this value, let the value of time be t. If I put it 1 by t and the t increases, what does the value imply? It decreases. If I put the value of t on the numerator and the t increases, the value increases. If the t decreases, then the value decreases. Simply. So if I have to minimize something, put it into the numerator. So I have got t and then I have the latency, which has also to be reduced. So t plus l upar, and I have to increase. To do that, I have to increase my compute. Compute means I have taken quantify that? I have to put a lot of resources into it. Resources takes power. Power mane P is equal to V into I, which is wattage. So watt. So watt will be increasing, latency and that will be decreasing. So T plus L by W. This is my objective function, very rudimentary. ऐसा नहीं ये होता है. I like to put a weighted sum of it. But ultimately I did ऊपर पे minimization, नीचे है maximization, such that I have got an objective function which is to be optimized. If that is done, then this entire optimization algorithm, I have to put an algorithm behind it, has to be done on the cloud or on-premise. Option of the cloud love. If it is to be put into cloud, put it into cloud. If it's not to be put into cloud, on-premise, then on-premise is jabe. But ultimately, objective function I have to figure it out. Next is on the edge. Do I need it on the edge or do I need it on the cloud or do I in the language? Humans are irreplaceable until now. So edge or cloud? Edge mane hoche on premise. On premise chai na cloud chai. This, how do I decide? What makes us decide that I should go into the on premise or on the cloud? Any idea, any logical thing, no technical, no engineering, any logical idea? What makes us think I should go into the cloud or I should be putting it on the edge? Anybody?
Cost and requirement.
Cost and requirement. Can you quantify that? I mean, at the level of cost. If the company can bear the cost, then it's fine. So I need a particular threshold. Cost at the threshold. Resources, taro ekta threshold. These thresholds are my numbers. Engineers will love numbers. No words. Thank you. Any other?
Sir, it can be easily shared and accessed.
Accessibility. That is also one of the vital points. Accessibility. मैंने on premise में I have put up a server. That is absolutely fine. I have got money. I have got resources. I have put all my efforts into it. Accessibility is one of this. My server is accessible only to a few people in my premise, but not to anybody else outside my premise. Then there is a problem. There is one more important part, and we are facing this. This accessibility problem is a huge problem. There is one more problem that we are facing both in this college, my college, even in NITs too, which is maintenance. I have to maintain that thing. It is running 24/7. Something goes wrong, then I need to have a human in the loop. He has to be paid on salary, so that is also an extra burden. All these things plus electricity cost, everything. So cost, accessibility and maintenance. These three things will determine whether or not I need it on premise or on cloud. But the most vital point is this decision making is what is the amount of compute that I need. I have seen many institutes, including mine. They have bought Xeon servers, Epic servers to cater to 3,000 people. Isn't it a wastage of resource? Madam, I have to cut my coat according to my pocket. I have requirements this much, I have spent this much. Electricity is required exactly the same to run the server to cater to few amount of people. So requirement, as he said, requirement is also an important part. So you have to balance everything. Engineering is all about this trade-off. Client wants this, I have to provide 20% extra of that, but not much. उससे ज़्यादा नहीं. We have to put a threshold, I mean a tolerance value 20% is ज़्यादा, but that's it. Not more than that. So requirement is a very, very important thing. Coming back to this example, Mission Hospital. What does Mission Hospital do? They cater to patients. Patients have their own requirements. They have their own itineraries. Will this hospital hire an IT team? Absolutely yes, because it's a network. Everybody has to be in this network. There is a billing system, there is a token system, there is a prescription registration system. Everything is online, so there has to be an IT. But do they require a server to cater to compute? Billing system is something else. Prescription management system is something else. But where I require huge amount of compute, which requires huge amount of electrical power, which also requires huge amount of maintenance issues, there will be issues. Will a bunch of guys from the IT department be engaged in maintaining a server which is only for the compute, or can we offload this? जो हमें नहीं चाहिए, headache अगर नहीं चाहिए, then I need to offload this. So all my billing systems, prescription management systems will be on the edge, because I'm not going to put this thing on the cloud, because requirement is less, cloud is huge, there is a disparity. हम नहीं जाएंगे, and I need more latency. But if I have to do some compute, radiology से I have got X-rays which needs to be put forward into a AI system, deep learning system for classifications and all. Would I put an expert as a maintainer of that system, or I will just offload this to a cloud? I will just offload this. Now, offloading this has got two paradigms. I can make my own intelligent system, offload it to a cloud. I will write my own programs that will run there. And something else will be happening. And the other way of doing things is, somebody has already written that program for me, I'll use it as a service. So initially I said infrastructure as a service. Now I'm saying intelligent applications on the cloud which I can take for a service. That's called the SaaS. Software access as a service, software as a service. SaaS and IaaS, infrastructure as a service. These two things are very important. I can make my own softwares, I can make my own intelligent programs, put it into my own cloud. That is IaaS. I use the infrastructure, or I can use their own service. Example service that we use every single day, in fact now, is the WhatsApp that you are going to use every single day. Is that a IaaS or a SaaS? Have you written that WhatsApp? It's an SaaS. You are using it as software as a service. Then somebody has to talk to these softwares. Your phone has to talk to these services. I need this, and the server will be sending you back what you need. So there is a bridge of communication. This communication bridge, it has to be very fast. Otherwise, nahi hoga. So that part is called as a protocol, networking protocols. So somebody else in the cloud has to also manage this networking protocols. It's not that easy. There is a IaaS infrastructure, then there is a service, and now there is a network service. Not everybody is specialized in this. Microsoft Azure is providing you both IaaS as well as a SaaS, software as your service, but Microsoft is not maintaining its own protocols. Somebody else. Who is doing that? Verizon. So their own servers, there are multi-party vendors doing it. When you are doing it on your edge, you will also have to think of something. Do I have to make a larger system to do something small, or I have to cut it short? That word, this is very important. Lightweight ONX. Any intelligent applications will have weighted systems, weights. Neural network has weights. I hope onekani jana hai. Have you ever heard of the word neural nets? Artificial neural nets. Mota jana hai. Have you ever used an AI system at home? Any AI system? ChatGPTs and all? The entire volume of the world is put into a cluster of numbers. Let us call for that time's sake as weights. Numbers are weights. So huge numbers, what numbers? Again, numbers. 1.2 trillion. 1.2 trillion weights. 1.2 trillion numbers. All those numbers are floating point numbers. I cannot have a single flip-flop to store them. I will have multiple flip-flops to store them. So a huge amount. Plus all those numbers are to be put into an algorithm which will compute and provide us our values. So that compute bhi chahiye. There comes, can we do it on the edge? Microsoft can handle it. Google can handle it. Can we handle it? Then we have to make those numbers 1.2 trillion and zip it down. Zip down to a smaller model which is called as a Onyx model. Recap. We have IaaS, we have SaaS. When do I use edge? When I have requirement is small, resource is small, I can maintain it and I am not going to pay for any service. Edge. When my requirement is medium to high, I cannot make my own programs, I'll go with the cloud services, not infrastructure. I may or may not go with the cloud infrastructure. I can have my on-premise system and the services from the cloud, only from the cloud. So, cloud money, all my storage and all my compute, both are in the cloud, not that. I can have either of them in the cloud or both of them in the cloud. Example, use case number 2. Let's say a college like this is building a website. Where did you host it? A website will require a web hosting service, money storage plus compute. Would you host it on your local server or local premise or on the cloud? And why? Reason being what? That website has to be accessed 24/7. You can have your on-premise system on a UPS 24/7, not a big problem. What if there is a power cut? Website goes down. So downtime of a website. Who is going to manage it? Somebody has to be hired 24/7. There will be then 2 shifts. Morning shift, evening shift. Then 2 people. Cost. We have to provide them salaries. So we are doubling up the cost to maintain a simple website. To put it in the cloud. Absolutely. You have a company which has sensitive data. Would you put it on the cloud? No. Mission hospital, the same thing. Would this mission hospital put its patients' data in the cloud? No. Then they will be requiring billing system, prescription systems, all will be on the edge. What will be then on the cloud? Radiology compute systems. Those will be on the cloud, not as an infrastructure, but as a service. Am I clear with this? There are wrong notions of cloud. Cloud means everything is on the cloud. Not really. Now, adoption of AI in modern days. You will look very clearly, I will not go into the depth of it. 2017 to 2025, general AI, which is the normal AI will join. General AI is where we have 3 independent paradigms: supervised, unsupervised, and reinforcement learning. Let's say I have a system where we have a y is equal to f of x, y is known, x is known, we have to find the value of f. That system, let us call that as a general AI. Then that growth of that AI is fairly high. Why it is down here? Any idea at 2020? COVID, our key. But this thing is not y is equal to f of x. This generative AI. Generative AI says, I've got no idea of f, I have got no idea of y, I only have x. Do whatever you can to figure out the value of y. आप f भी संभालो, y भी संभालो. That is your generative AI. Generative, the word immediately says that it generates something. We'll go into the depths of it. This is picking up, but the field I am interested in is reinforcement learning. That is how humans learn. We'll go into that also. The cloud market is fairly easy to understand. This total cloud market, it is fairly increasing. Why was it down this particular year to 2023, and why was it up by so much at 2022? There are a number of reasons. This 2023, there was a lot of hacks on the cloud, viruses and all. There was down. But if you look closely on this parts, these are AI contribution. Blue ones are not steady. It is not actually rising all the time. But the yellow ones are actually rising. And if you go to the trend, AI in cloud has risen by many folds in the last few years. And AI will dominate. On-premise versus cloud, we have already talked about this. Business case, कहाँ पे हमको ये चाहिए? High value workflow. As I said, if you have got no interest in maintaining your job profile, your job requirement is less, there is a low value workflow. Do not go on the cloud and waste your money. Amazon AWS is very, very pricey. Never waste your money. Put it on the edge. Quantify the pain point. How much does the current problem cost in terms of hours, revenue or churn? This is very, very important. If I have to take a decision, cloud or edge, this is very important. My pain point, what bothers me, what is my problem and what bothers me. Maybe in that also, this is much more important than anything else. Revenue and churn is secondary. This is important. Man hours. How much hours do I spend on that job if it is not my primary job? I am mission hospital, I have to cater to patients, but 30% of my daily routine goes in maintaining a server. So this hour is very, very important. My pain point is I need to have process of my radiology very fast. Measurable. As an engineer, we have everything to be quantifiable. I said identify the parameters, put a number to it, take an objective function, build an application around it. Then you can store it on an edge or on a cloud. That is up to you. So quantification is very important. You have to be very specific. What is my objective and my goal? As I said, by W, T plus L by W. So my objective was to reduce T, which was time, and L, which was latency. Reduce, increase has got no meaning in engineering. I have to put a number to it. Reduce by how much? That is what is said. Handling time by 25%. So I have to have a target. Reduce time by 25%. Reduce latency by 60%, which will require 50% increase in wattage. So numbers are very important. These two things are important. Be specific and put some numbers in it. Business KPI is something which has to be connected to. Business KPI is related to this revenue. Let's say I have a boss and my boss says you have put up a server, it is working very fine. Mera fayda kya? So time and latency is reduced. Has it converted to revenue? If it is not converting to revenue, so decreasing time, decreasing latency, it doesn't make any sense for my boss. So business KPI is also important, and that results in this thing. Return on investment. 7 lakh ka server hai, and in a month I get a revenue of 7,000. It doesn't make any sense. So there has to be a trade-off. We do not like these people, these business people, but ultimately they have to be catered. As an engineer, they are bosses, our clients, either a boss or a client, so we have to cater to it. So, and from an engineering perspective, clear objectives, quantifiable objectives aligned with business goals. It has to be aligned with the business goals. Now I'll go a bit of fast. Revenues will increase. SaaS revenues has already increased 390 billions. ठीक है. IaaS is increasing but not by that much. Nobody is caring about infrastructure as a service as much as anybody because there are giants and everybody else is under their monopoly. So Amazon, Google, Microsoft, they are giants and everybody else is under their monopoly. Nobody will be hoping to create a large server cluster and win over Microsoft. So IaaS will not be a good proposition, but this is where we as an engineer can chip in. That we can build our intelligent systems on this SaaS. Nowadays AI has taken it over and you can build in days. AWS share is higher, Azure and GCP is higher. AWS stands for Amazon Web Services. Amazon is a retailer of goods. I buy from them every single day from their Amazon stores. Those Amazon stores and their business from the Amazon stores is exactly 1.2% of their entire revenue. So where does the rest 99% go? In AWS. They provide services. In short, जिनिस बेचे उधर तो नहीं है ना. The major thing is service. AWS as a service, and they are huge. Hybrid and multi-cloud adoptions. I'll be very short with this. On-premise, cloud. What if I have both? What if I have a hybrid system? As I said, I can have my on-premise infrastructure, which is taking services on the cloud. IaaS or SaaS or so I can have both at the same time. Cloud money, as I said, I will repeat it, is not about everything on the cloud. No, I can have one of them on the cloud. I can have my infrastructure, but I can have the service on the cloud. Example is, let's say this meeting, this seminar is happening, and there is an AI which is recording this entire audio, immediately transcribing this into a text, immediately, in real time, is doing it on the text, and then somebody, a system is there which is putting it into writing, and then there is another system which is summarizing it. So I have got three systems. One is recording this, another one is transcribing this, another one is summarizing this at the same time, in real time. Recording this, I have this on the cloud. Edge. It has to be on the edge. That's it. And it has to have a higher latency. So that infrastructure is on the edge. Transcribing in real time. If possible, I will do it on the edge. If not possible, as a service. Summarizing it, would it be on the edge or would it be local? Think about this. Summarizing is something which an AI can do. AI মানে যেটা আমরা এখন সহজভাবে বুঝি, that is ChatGPT. Ultimately an LLM, large language model will do it. Would I put that LLM as a service? Would I take that as a service from the cloud, or I will be putting it on the edge? On the cloud. Anybody else? Cloud. I will differ in this point. We have local LLMs also. I can run them locally. Very simply 7 billion parameters, not 1.2 billion parameters, but a 7 billion parameter model which I can run here. How much will be my transcript? I'll be talking for another hour or so. What will be my transcript length? A page, a 2 page, a 3 page, 10 pages? If I put that into words, maybe 5,000, 6,000, 10,000 words. Every single word, I will take 2 words as a token, so 4,000 tokens. So 4,000 tokens, I will be putting it, I will take it as a service from the cloud. I will be paying $0.6, 60 cents. Why would I pay that? When I can pay the same thing I can run this on my cloud, on my edge. I can have it for 10 paise. plus electricity cost negligible because it will take a second. So 10 পয়সার দিকে যাব না আমি 40 টাকার দিকে যাব. If I have to do it regularly, I'll do it on the edge. As simple as this. So money, you will have to quantify what is a business proposition. You will have to think about what your client wants and long-term thinking, not short-term. Assembling and engineering is completely different. There are things in the market off the shelf. I will bring it up. I will use it for my own use cases because summarizer to ChatGPT hai laga denge, but I am paying for that. So we will have to do the proper engineering. Which things has to be on the edge, which things has to be on the cloud. That transcription wala part has to be on the cloud because I have to do it in real time. My resource will not be sufficient for that. Summarizing is not in real time. Once the transcribing is done, it will take a second afterwards, offline. So I will not be needing it. So thoda sa sochna hai what to do and what not to do. Now AI paradigms. I will be very brief with this. I will not go into the depth of it. There are 4 paradigms of AI: supervised, unsupervised, reinforcement learning, Gen AI. Gen AI niye amra খুব মাথা ব্যথা চলছে. Supervised learning. Let's say there is a hot kettle. A child goes, touches it. Before touching it, there is a parent, guardian, mother or father. He or she says that do not touch. It will be detrimental for your health. Now quantify this. If you put your hand at a dx rate with such and such acceleration and velocity and it is in contact with the kettle with the temperature of 120 degrees Celsius, then the amount of pain which is quantifiable by a Richter scale RIPTER will be so and so. A particular parameter is quantifiable. And then the supervisor, which is my mother or my father, says that do not touch. Then it is called as a supervised learning system. There is a supervisor, there is an agent, which is the child, and it learns based on those parameters and an advice from the supervisor. Now, let's say there is no supervisor. There is no mother or father or any parents. Okay, when I touch it, when the child touches it, the same thing goes back. There is a pattern. If he or she is dumb, he will be doing it for 5 times, 6 times, 7 times. But ultimately what happens is every single time the wiring in the brain of the child says there is a pattern. हर बार हम छूते जा रहे हैं तो ये pattern हमें मिलता है. So supervised learning system, there is a supervised teacher who says do not do this, do that. In unsupervised, you will be doing it multiple times and you will find out a pattern. You will not learn much, but you will have a pattern. Reinforcement learning hai. You touch once, you learn at the same time. Once you touch it, you know that I am hurt. How much I am, what is the exact amount of less in my health I have. So next time, if I touch, same amount is reduced. The wiring in the brain says, I will not touch with this velocity, this acceleration. একটু ছুঁয়ে দেখি, এরকম করে ধরার কোনো ইয়ে নেই, একটু ছুঁয়ে দেখি, তো এই একটু ছুঁয়ে দেখি, তাতে যদি সমস্যা হয়, I'll go back. So every single iteration is making you learn. So what is the difference from unsupervised and reinforcement learning? In unsupervised, after n number of iterations, I learn once with all those iterations. In reinforcement learning, I learn every single iteration. I reinforce. These walls are made by concrete. There is something in between these walls. Rebar bola hoy na oটা? Rebar মানে লোহার রড দেওয়া হয় না? সেটাকে কি বলা হয়? Rebar, reinforcement bars. It is reinforcing the concretes. Same thing in AI is, it is reinforcing my knowledge of how much I should touch it or not. So all these systems are based on two things. I know X, I know F. F is touching, X is temperature, Y is what happens next. কিন্তু যদি আমরা শুধু X দিয়ে দেওয়া হয়, 2-year-old provided a kettle and a glass of water. He doesn't know what to do with it. Does not know. জলটা যে ভেতরে ঢোকাতে হবে জানে না. What it will do? It will learn. এটা ওটা ইয়ে করে টেলে ultimately it will learn. But did I provide any supervising? No. Was it intentional? Was there any X and Y? That child never had a inkling a jaw, a kettle, physical idea. So after a long time, it will create something that we cannot even fathom. So it generated a new thing. কেটলির টপটা হয়তো নিচে রাখলো, কেটলিটা উপরে, তারপরে বটলটাকে ব্যালেন্স করে ছেড়ে দিল. It becomes a work of art. But we did not intend to do it. That becomes a generative AI. It generates something out of nowhere. In engineering terms, every signal, everything in life is a signal. Y is equal to f of x, and every signal has a distribution. That generative AI, what it does is it creates its own distribution from the previous ones. পুরনো signals গুলোকে দেখে new signals generate করে. Images are basically 2D signals. Similarly, it can generate that. So, তার মধ্যে we have classifications and regressions. There are two types. On the cloud, what we can do is we can have classifications. Fraud detection, regression is price estimation. Example of any classification is very simple, which is done every single day on the cloud. In Durgapur itself, Axis Bank which we have already provided them, which is two things. একটা হচ্ছে fraud, আর একটা হচ্ছে the second one is signature identification. That is also a part of the classification. There are a number of cases in our Durgapur branch in Axis Bank where there were a lot of fraud things with the signature. So we had to make a system for them, paid service. It classified if this particular signature is actually fraud or original. Where is that service going on? I mean, where it is being done? It is a software which is running on the on-premise system. Absolutely fine. Then there was another system for this fraud detection. Not the fraud detection. That was for loan. Axis Bank also provides loans. Who is eligible for the loan? To do that, we had to figure out a AI system for that. But that was very high. Compute was very high. Since the compute was very high, Axis Bank has a cloud service for that. So when the compute was high, they used the cloud, otherwise they used edge. Regression is also similar. So we have gone with unsupervised and reinforcement learning. Gen AI. Next is, where do I get these services and who are the giants? The giants are AWS, Google Cloud, Microsoft Azure. Hardware, who uses what? AWS uses NVIDIA. I'll go straight to this hardware part, which is the most important part. NVIDIA GPUs are being used by AWS. NVIDIA GPUs are used by Google Cloud as well as their TPUs, tensor processing units. NVIDIA GPUs is used by Microsoft Azure and AMD. What is common in this field? NVIDIA. So that company is producing 90% of all cloud compute around the world. That company makes GPUs, graphics processing unit. In those GPUs there are microprocessors, microcontrollers, semiconductors. Who produces the highest number of semiconductors in the world? Taiwan. TSMC, Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Corporation. They are doing it. So a Hong Kong based company now in US, in NVIDIA of Jensen Huang, and then they are taking things from Taiwan. The East should be benefited more because both are from the East. But who is benefiting more? Are these companies from the east? They are west coast. They're all from the west. So east is providing the resource for the west. And what is India's role? India is only taking the service. We are neither the largest providers, neither the largest manufacturers. So as an Indian or an Indian paradigm, where do we fit? Do I have the capability to make a huge TSMC type plant in a day or a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 10 years? No. We will be needing another 30 years. So time linear. Race is on and we have to move forward. Can we build this? Not really. AWS or cloud type system requires huge amount of space, huge amount of water, huge amount of electricity. पानी हम दे देंगे, electricity हम दे देंगे, space नहीं दे पाएंगे. Why? It is a democracy. Every single state will have their own rules and laws. तो उतना जल्दी से हो नहीं पाएगा. Then where do we fit in? कहाँ से we can fit? We can fit in here. We can fit in here. We can create our own intelligent systems, as the title said, intelligent apps, and we can have a data ecosystem. We can have a full control of the data. Let there be an American company, but what we are actually doing, they have outsourced their data, we are processing it, and they are sending them back using AWS services on NVIDIA GPU. So Indians are well placed with our software prowess in the data and the service sector, economically. So our job as an engineer should be to focus on SaaS and not on infrastructure. हमें उसमें घुसना नहीं है. We have to think on the SaaS, and to do that we need to learn a bit of AI. Bit of नहीं, follow check. This entire process, data source goes into ETL or ELT, then data storage, and this triggers and all goes on. This paradigm, I'm just छोटा कर बोलूँ. ETL and ELT, what is this stands for? कि होते पारे तीन letters, ELT and ETL. Extract, E stands for extract, T stands for transfer, L stands for load. So extract, transfer, load, ETL, ELT, extract, load, transfer. So there are two types of services that we can think about. Extract, when I take the data, transfer to the cloud, then process it, that is load. Ultra बोलने, you process it on the edge, then transfer it to the cloud. ELT. So ETL, ELT, both the use cases can be done using our either a SaaS or an IaaS, but we should stick to only SaaS. Here is the part where Indians make a lot of money. Data lake. Processing on the cloud. Cloud processing, it has to run on a service. Service has to be written down in particular language which we are very proficient with. So we write services on the cloud to process the data. Huge data is generated by the West, used by NVIDIA GPUs, pushed onto the cloud storage. Indians fit in here to put our softwares to compute. This is where we should put our focus on. And these are majorly network engineering, SQL engineering, load and trigger type things. To make our own softwares for the SaaS, these three independent parts is very important. If I sum them up, it's only one single thing, planning. The word is planning. Before writing any software, any program, any intelligent systems, घुस गए, देख लेंगे, that is the Indian attitude of doing things, नहीं हो पाएगा. You have to be planning first. You have to plan very, very hard. Planning is very important. There was a story where a Japanese company was asked to manufacture a set of screws. They were said 1000 screws चाहिए, 10% tolerance है, which means हमको 1000 screws चाहिए and out of that 10%, 100 might have some sort of deformities. What Japanese company did was they sent them back 1000 screws and 100 extra. They said in a note, we could make only perfect screws, we had to calibrate our system to make imperfect screws. That 100 was imperfect, they had to do it. That was the level of perfection, and that comes only from the paradigm of expertise, which is if the job is for 12 months, they do 11 months of planning. The last month is for production. That 11 months of planning is important. That is the Japanese way. What we do is, for day one we start deploying, and the client will say कि ये नहीं पूरा है, हाँ देखते हैं, ऐसा नहीं होता है. We have to plan first. So first is schema evolution, which is majorly what you want to do, how to do the process in a particular structured way. The schema has to be properly done. और ओखाने जितना लगे सेटा जो दूरदर्शिता है. You have to be a forerunner. आगे जाके क्या होने वाला है, you have to understand that, you have to know that, you have to foresee that. That is very important, which we lack, which we have to do. Metadata is, we have a process in a structured way, which is my schema. How do I make everybody in my group know about this? सबको ये कैसे पता होगा? Then we have to put a document for that. That document we can say it as a metadata and a lineage. There is another word called a lineage. Metadata and lineage your schema metadata will change over time. So I need to have a way of putting them कि कल ये था, आज ये है. So CICD systems. CICD systems is basically what you know about this. GitHub, Gits. So CICD system is also known as a linear system. Three things: proper planning, which is my schema. Let people know metadata, what it is. Then have a history of what are the changes, lineage. The three things is very important when you are building a SaaS. SaaS, if you are going to build, these three things are very important. These things will be handled by other engineers. आपको batch streaming चाहिए या फिर simple batch चाहिए, this can be handled by network engineers. But this three is very important. 1, 2, and 3. Planning, let people know, have a history. These are the three things which is most important in a SaaS. Planning is सबसे important. Now, these are parts when you are actually coding. Those three were on the planning stage. Now, when you have started your coding, you will be needing databases, how fast it is, latency. Database selection is also very important. Very important. I have data of 3000 employees in a particular ERP system. Should I go with no SQL, SQL, or I hope you understand SQL and no SQLs. तो SQLs लेंगे या फिर no SQL लेंगे या फिर Redis लेंगे, or I will go with full blown Oracle. क्या चाहिए हमें? 3000 SQL ज़्यादा ज़रूरत नहीं है SQL, but I have seen many people do this thing. They have learned Oracle 9 for 5 or 6 years, proficient with it. हमको उसी में चलना है. So never be a fanboy of a particular technology. A technology is a technology. जब जो चाहिए वही उसको लगाना है. Never be a fanboy. Oracle सीखे तो Oracle ही लगाना है. नहीं, no. So जहाँ पर जो चाहिए SQL अगर चाहिए तो SQL चाहिए. This planning is very important. What sort of a database do I need? Because that directly translates to this latency. How fast am I going to retrieve my data? There are things how efficient you write your SQL queries. That is also important. This is important. Avoid future data leakage by joining features using proper time boundaries. This is a very vague statement, but what it actually means is the last thing that I said, foresee, planning. Data leakage, there will be a lots of data leakage in SQL itself. For example, SQL injection. Username, password, there was no check and it went straight into the thing. So data leakage is also important. It doesn't actually mean security. Security is something else. But as a programmer, I will be not interested much into the network security part, but on the my optimized software security part. In software security, data leakage is very, very important. My data should be containerized, specified here, and it cannot be taken by somebody else by hijacking it. So I have to make sure that is done. That is good programming practices. So summary is good programming practices, right choice of database, this is important, and maintain your history. This is important. Lineage, this is also important. Any doubt until now, up to now? Any questions up to now? Not clear to me. Now I will be very fast. Server, there are types of infrastructures and services. Services there are serverless endpoints, and then there are microservices. Bash transforms to use. Serverless endpoints manage inference services, SageMaker, Vertex and all, automatically scale replicas based on request volume. I have a service which I have put on the Azure segment. I have to provide or cater to 3,000 clients. Kal mera company has gone to 3 million clients. Do I have to buy my new server? No, because my stuff is on the cloud. It is their headache. If it is on a serverless client server, Azure will scale it up. What does scaling up means? Initially I had 3,000 clients. Azure had provided me a epic 2 core, 3 core, 10 core CPU. आज मेरा 3 million clients है. I will have Azure to provision me epic 64 core processors multiples. What am I doing for it? Nothing. All I have said is my client has increased, do whatever you can. It will put all its resources for that. हमें क्या सोचना है? नहीं सोचना है. Had it been on premise, क्या होता? I'll have to buy a new server. वो दिक्कत हमें नहीं है. So serverless endpoints. All I will be doing is call through API. API call लगाएंगे, खत्म लगाएंगे. Serverless endpoints are pretty good and mostly used in SaaS. If I have to create my own. Otherwise, there are microservices which you write, not provided by somebody else, but which you write and containerize. You dockerize them in a Docker and you deploy. So who manages it? If something goes wrong, you manage it. So when you write, you dockerize, you maintain, it becomes a microservice on a cloud. When giants manage your service, scale them up with least effort from your part, that is serverless endpoints. When do I need what? When my service is very important, my data is very important, it is to be proprietary. Amar algorithm, amar thakbe keu nebe na. Write a microservice. When you are writing a wrapper on something else, use the serverless endpoints. What is a wrapper? Wrapper means ChatGPT is a service, right? It is a political cloud. API I can call this thing through an API. Somebody someplace says that particular use case where I said it has to summarize my transcription. So I call that API and I bundle this entire thing. Recording, transcription, summarize, and then when the meeting is done, individual person wise, what he said, that, what do I need from a meeting minutes, automatic query where printer. Somebody wrap them up in one single software, called it as a SaaS, put it on the cloud by side by side. But ultimately, in the middle, they used APIs from OpenAI, Whispers and all, NIA. That is a wrapper service. For that, you need this. If you write your own, go with microservices. Am I clear with this? At the Jacksina CI/CD pipeline, this will be provided to you. Data drift monitoring is very important. AICTE point is very important. But not so important. Data drift. Data drift is something which is called the data corruption. When your data is on the cloud, handled by many people, there is bound to be corruption in the data. Then there has to be a provision in your SaaS app which takes into account through that lineage system कि कल मेरा data ये था, आज मेरा data में deviation इतना है. Is this a good one or a bad one? The drift. So that drift analysis is also very important. Next, performance monitoring is always important. Explainability and fairness. You need not worry about this. This is a word which has been put forward by many AI enthusiasts such as Sam Altman and all from OpenAI. Everything has to be explainable. It's like a black box. AI is like a black box. अंदर हम कुछ दे रहे हैं, अंदर कुछ हो रहा है, बाहर कुछ मिलते हैं, क्या होते जा रहा है हमें मालूम नहीं है. It's like a black box. So people are asking, we need to have an explainable AI. This is a very vague word. If you are building an AI system which is a completely black box and asking that black box to explain itself what you are doing, तो answer नहीं मिलने वाला. So explainability is not done. A challenging clinical document, AI NLP. Fraud detection in finance, as I said, geolocations and all, we have to figure out the fraud. Use case for ASC. CTRs. CTR, how many of you are in YouTube? I mean, you create some YouTube videos. Have you ever done any YouTube videos? I guess somebody has done it. In YouTube pays for CTR. CTRs mean how many times people are viewing your videos. So how do you maximize that? As a content creator, how do you maximize that? You can actually maximize that by learning about how YouTube has an algorithm. You need to know that algo. अगर आपको algorithm मालूम नहीं है, what do? You create a SaaS, you create a program of your own. What does it do? It analyzes the previous ones and then puts your data, which is your video, and figures it out. What type of AI am I talking? Supervised, unsupervised, reinforcement, or gen? Reinforcement requires learning from every single video. I said I have a huge amount of videos earlier. This is my video. इससे सीखो, मेरे को ठीक लगाओ. Partially supervised. Teacher है कौन यहाँ पे? Who is the teacher? Who says that ये ठीक है कि ये नहीं है ना? So it becomes unsupervised. Finding a pattern from the previous ones. These are the features which made those videos viral. What is the viral coefficient in it? उसको मेरे में डालो. Put that thing in my video. Can you make a software out of it? You can? Anji.
If we use reinforcement in this, what will be the problem?
Reinforcement learning does not require a back-end huge amount of data. It requires learning from one single thing at a time. Reinforcement learning आगे जानते गए. Let's এটা আমি এমনি করে বলছি. এগুলো blocks তো. These are blocks. I am here and that block over there has a pitfall, a black hole. I can take how many steps? still survive. So my reward for moving forward without falling into a black hole, let that be 1. From here I can take 4 independent steps, left, right, stuff like that. I go here, plus 1. कोई problem नहीं है, दिक्कत नहीं है. I go diagonally and I fall. Minus 100. So there is always a reward and a penalty system. But where did I walk? I walked on this particular square grid type thing. I know there is a grid. I do not know there is a black hole there. I know I am standing here. This block is called as an S1, state 1. Then I take an action, A1, go to state 2. Using that action, A1, I get either a reward or a penalty. Let that be a simple reward system. Reward positive or negative. I can have a positive system or a negative system. So from there, I took an action, I went to step 2, I have a reward or a penalty. Put that into an equation. That's called the Bellman's equation. The probability of me starting the same game next time, मैं यहाँ पे हूँ और मेरे को मालूम है last time when I took this step there was no problem. I had a reward. I need to maximize my reward. So there was a probability attached to it. Keep 0.5 probability or 0.6 probability. I will go from here to here. But that learning system also learned if I go from here to this diagonally, I'll fall. That probability is already learned in the last game as negative. 0. हम नहीं जाएंगे वहाँ पे. The more number of games you play, every single time you take a separate path, the better it is that you learn every single time. तो आपको क्या चाहिए? कुछ नहीं चाहिए. Game चाहिए. Environment चाहिए. जो आपको मालूम है. That is called as the Markov decision process. MDPs. वो आपको MDPs चाहिए होगा. Environment जो आपको मालूम है. As somebody has asked, what do I do with this thing with reinforcement learning? अगर हमको ये reinforcement learning सीखना होगा, then I need to build a game for that. An environment, a simulation setting है दरकार है. If I can build a simulation setting to understand the virality of a video, then हम तो algorithm पे जाना होगा. जब हम जाना ही नहीं, then I am going for an unsupervised way. Reinforcement learning is used mostly in robotics and stuff, where I know what a robot can do, I know what it should do, I will make the robot learn by doing it multiple times. Markov's decision process and MDP is what again? Partial MDP. Am I clear with this? Simulation environment is what do I do with it? Reinforcement learning. So this case is a clear cut of unsupervised. Gen AI. Gen AI, what you use your chat GPTs and all, it is all about. I mean, in next all slides I will be summarizing in a shorter space because I will be finishing it fast on a time. I guess. Gen AI माने generative AI. As I said, X मालूम है, Y भी नहीं है, F भी नहीं है, कुछ नहीं है. So what I have to do is I have to figure out Y and F all at the same time. Somebody will be generating this. Let's say there is an image 1, image 2. These two images are pixels, X and Y, X and Y. If I multiply this X and Y, I will have a straight line. If I take every single pixel which is made of RGB, red, green, blue, every red is of 8 bits, green 8 bits, blue 8 bits. How many bits are there? 24 plus HSL will change them. So 24 into 1920 into 1080. And full HD. The after bits, I have so many bits. These bits, if I plot red, the color red, how much is the intensity in the entire picture? Now if I plot this as a histogram, hopefully histogram what jana ase. If I have this histogram and then I join the heads of the histogram, what do I have? A distribution. Similarly, image 2 will also have a distribution. Let there be 1000 images of cats. every single image will have its own distribution. Put an unsupervised learning system which understands or tries to find out the pattern in the distribution. So what it will do? It will summarize or approximates all the distribution. Next time you ask, I need a picture of a cat, it will take that understood or learned distribution and generate a bunch of pixels which looks like a cat. So initially it learned on distributions and then it generated a similar distribution. এই হচ্ছে Gen AI. আমরা ছবি we type a prompt and we get a image back, we type something, we get something back. We believe that we think that it thinks, it doesn't think. It matches your distribution requirement with its understood or learned distribution requirement and nothing else. So this is Gen AI. That is one part of it. That is called as the diffusion models. Another part which we use daily is ChatGPTs. That is a part of the LLMs. LLMs are large language models. Large language models work on RNN, recurrent neural networks, when it has a feedback from the past. How does LLM work? Dash FDP in BCRCP. Fill in the blanks. কি লেখা আছে এখানে? আমি যদি বলি এখানে ডক্টর বিসি রয় ড্যাশ, what comes right in the mind? Correct. Because you are already looking at this, you have learned the distribution, you know what should be the next word in this particular context. The word context is very important. LLM just does just that. It has a bunch of sentences which is in conflict. It predicts the next word. इसके बाद क्या होने वाला है? So when you ask a question, it is learned on the entire internet. Let's say he is a dash boy. Bad होते पारे, good होती पारे. But then who is this boy? If I am talking about Hitler, तार अन्य कुछ होगा. If I am talking about Gandhi, तार अन्य कुछ होगा. So context is important. So based on a context, this is my incomplete sentence. There are a few words which is blank. Fill it up. এই জিনিসটা যদি আমি একটা বাঁদরকেও একটা রুমের মধ্যে গোটা ইন্টারনেটের বই যদি ধরিয়ে দিই, that monkey will learn that in few thousand years. That is what an LLM does. We do not have a monkey, we have NVIDIA GPUs. We have high computes. That 1,000-year crunch down to few hours and nothing else. So LLM does only one single thing: predicts the next token. So that puts you in a position to feel like you are looking at something intelligent. It is not. But another way of thinking this is, if that monkey is learning for 1,000 years to predict the next token, if you are that monkey, I am that monkey, wouldn't I learn something of the concepts? আমি যদি ফিজিক্সের বইয়ে fill in the blanks সবসময় ওইটাই শিখে যাচ্ছি, wouldn't I learn the concepts of physics after a certain period of time? By virtue of constrained learning. I am in a constrained space, I have nothing else to do, I am doing the same thing repeatedly every single time, and in the process some sort of a concept is creeping into me. LLM right now, 3 years back, concept was not known by the LLMs. They were just next token predictors. Now, after so many years of ingesting data, it has learned the concept which we known as a world model, a model of the world. It has got an understanding of the model of the world. If you ask AI how many R is in strawberry, সবথেকে common testing prompt, it cannot. It cannot. Why? It predicts the next token. I asked what is the number of R's, so it has to go back করা সম্ভব না. If I say, If I ask an AI, give me 5 words with 3 letters each, খুব সুন্দর করে আগে সাজিয়ে দিয়ে দেবে, কোনো বিশেষ কোনো সমস্যা দাঁড়াবে না। But if I ask, what are you going to say next? What is your next word? If I ask you, you will have to answer only in one single word. My question is, what is your next word? What you do is, you do a back process. मेरे को ये बोलना है, so I will think of that word and I will say it. You decide first, this is my word. LLM will not do that. LLM cannot decide which word it has to say. It has to fill in the blanks. इसमें कोई blank है ही नहीं. So what to fill? These are the places where LLMs get stuck. So we have an inkling of intelligence, but it is not that intelligent. At least not now. But concepts has been learned through constrained learning. এটা হয়েছে। So আজকের দিনে দাঁড়িয়ে, if you have some sort of a logical questions, it can answer that. But not much. বেশি কিছু করা পক্ষে সম্ভব হয় না। বাংলায় দ্বীপ জেলে যায়, আগেও বলেছি, দ্বীপ জেলে যায়। দ্বীপ ছেলেটা জেলে যাচ্ছে না দ্বীপ জ্বালিয়ে দিয়ে যাচ্ছে? ambiguous statements, lexicons, বোঝা সম্ভব নয়। LLM, large language model, the language itself is tough. So understanding is very, very tough. So there has to be something beyond LLM to go into an AGI. I am not in the school of belief ki OpenAI, LLM, AGI niye asbe, general intelligence niye asbe. No, there has to be something else, and most probably that will be a reinforcement learning system.
Sir,
Absolutely.
আর এরপরে আমি হাফ অ্যান আওয়ারের মধ্যে কি 15-20 মিনিটসের মধ্যে আমি শেষ করে দেবো, আর কম
now I would request everyone to get settled down, and now I would request sir to continue with the session. Thank you.
Okay. So now I'll be very fast, extremely fast. Encoder generative AI landscape has got few independent features. Encoder, decoder, which is part of the T5. Decoder only, GPT, Llama, and Gemini. This is what you are using right now in the form of chat GPTs and all. So decoder only models are GPT, Llama, and Gemini. If you want to create a new image, then you have a diffusion model by stable diffusion. This is important. Multimodal systems. What do you mean by this word multimodal? What we mean by this word multimodal? Modality in AI, modality in a model is what type of input does it take? It can take text, it can take image, it can take an audio, it can take anything. But ultimately, at the end of the day, audio, video, images, text are all signals. So at the end of the day, we take only signals and nothing else. Signals have many forms: 1D, 2D, 3D. If it's a 3D, then it's a 3D one. If it's a 2D image, single dimensional, then it's a text and all. So 1D, 2D, 3D, everything is a signal. But if a model consumes all of them or two or more of them, it becomes a multimodal system. Another one is called a singular one, which is a decoder only. Example, in chat GPT, if you put up an image and ask something about it, it responds. So that image itself is a two-dimensional signal. The text or the prompt that you are providing is a one-dimensional signal. Dono ek saath is a multimodal system, and it answers that. Few of them will have this multimodal systems. Another one, usage mode में है managed AI. Managed AI is people or the companies who are managing your services, OpenAI, Bedrock, Amazon. Self-hosted, as we already said. LLM is not something which is always to be provided by a company. You can have your own LLM at home. You can run your own LLM at home. ChatGPT মতন জিনিস ঘরে ইউজ করা যায় সেটা কিভাবে ইউজ করা যায়? What is the name of it? That thing is called the Llama, Mistral. There are n number of other companies. Llama 3, it would be very hard to fathom, but Llama 3 is a model which is an open source model, open weight model, which is provided by none other than Mark Zuckerberg from Meta. Meta is known for their very aggressive business policies. They do not want anything which has got nothing to do with money. But still, they are the only company who has provided us Llama 3, a model which you can use it in your home. What is the use case of using a local LLM in your home? What is the best case use? When you have sensitive data which you do not want to put on the cloud, which everybody will look into it, आपको नहीं चाहिए, then you can use your local LLM, which is your Llama 3. Then there is another from France, which is Mistral. Our own Ola, the company is also trying their best to do something which is not in the same level. You have heard of the word called DeepSeek very recently. DeepSeek movement, DeepSeek, China is catching up. What DeepSeek has done is they have taken up OpenAI's model, which is GPT-4 and GPT-3. Then they have fine-tuned it, which is this one, fine-tuning the parameters. Let's say there are 1.2 trillion parameters, 1.2 trillion weights, numbers. उसमें से every number, every block of numbers is in a separate structure. Those structures are called as a layer. Layer 1, 1.2 billion. Layer 2, 2.6 billion. Layer 4, say 0.6 billion. So there are n number of layers in the architecture its own number of weights. What DeepSeek has done is they have found out which particular layers of GPT-3, which particular layers of GPT-4 are more important than the rest. To do that, they use their own programs. Once they have done that, once that is done, they have found out a way to fine-tune those parameters. If I go to a particular function where there is a lot of dance programs are going on, I will be going there as a judge. Let's say I am there as a judge, and there are a number of dance programs going on. Every single program, if I take it as a layer, one dance program is this hip hop, another one is something else, classical and stuff. But I belong to a particular domain. I am a good classical dancer. I will not be interested in those dances which are from the hip hops and all. But I will be focusing on those ones which are the classical ones, and I will inherently find flaws in them. My job there is to judge, so I will find flaws in them. And being a good critical analyzer, positive, then I will talk to those dancers and say, "Aapka yahan pe thoda sa problem tha. You can do this to make yourself better." DeepSeek has done exactly that. It has found out which layers has the problem out of their own expertise, and then fine-tune the parameters weights only in those layers. So take up already established model, find out the layers which are flaws, fine-tune them, and you have your DeepSeek model. The process of finding those layers is what they have revolutionized. That is called as RLHF, which is reinforcement learning with human feedback. As I said there, when I go from one cell to another, I may have a positive reward or a negative reward. That reward system has been provided by somebody. What DeepSeek guys has done is they have put a human there. This AI has taken this action while in step S1, gone to step S2, up as a human being provide that reward. Initially we were doing it through a system. AI নিজেকে reward দিচ্ছে. এখানে they have put a human into this. Human intelligence clustered with equations has provided us a brilliant system, which is a hybrid system. That is your DeepSeek. So find out the layers, figure out what is the problem through a human in the loop, and tune it. So fine tuning is very important nowadays. खूब important. और example दिया मैं एक जाओ. Let's say you have an AI system which is very vast. It has got n number of knowledge about everything. It is a world model, but it has got no home model. It knows every single parts of your physics, chemistry, biology, maths. It knows every single thing. ঘরে আজকে আমার পারিবারিক অশান্তি হচ্ছে, and I need to solve it. I need a psychological counselor. My problem is my problem. It has got no idea what sort of a mentality, psychology, and something else is going on within me. Me is an individual, not a part of the world model. So I need to fine-tune that AI as a psychologist to work on my problem. So you have a world model which has got Freudian syndromes, Freudian psychology, সব পড়া আছে, but that doesn't know my problem. So I will be letting it know my problem. That is fine-tuning towards a specific goal. That is what they have done. Now, RAGs. RAGs are retrieval augmented generations. LLMs are next token prediction. How long? কতক্ষণ? If there are 10,000 words, 10,000 sentences, it will go on filling up the sentences based on this. তারা আগে কি ছিল সব চলছে. After a certain limit of time, it will forget. 10,000 sentence আগে আমার কি ছিল. When it forgets, that is called as a catastrophic failure. When it forgets about what was the context some 5 minutes back. Who is the Chief Minister of Bengal? Mamata Banerjee. Who is the Prime Minister of India? Modi. Next question is, if you write this in your chat GPT, who is the Prime Minister of India? Modi. Next question, if you ask, how old is he? Answer will be some 63, 61 jeta ache. How did it know that he mane ke? I asked how old is he? So it took up the last question as a context. Go on repeating this for 1,000 times. It will forget the context. তখন বলবে ফ্রান্সের রাজধানী প্যারিস, কোনো মানেই হয় না, সিস্টেমের সঙ্গে কোনো সম্পর্কই নেই আর কি, মার্সেও বেগুন চাষ হয় এরকম বলে দিতে সক্ষম আছে। তো দ্যাট থিং is called as an hallucination. So it hallucinates, it figures out something new which is not a part of the context. The least amount of hallucination যদি নিয়ে আসতে হয়, then what we have to do is we have to have a larger context so that it does not forget. The larger context when we have, the মানে it has to have a larger memory. Larger context মানে larger memory. Larger memory মানে হচ্ছে larger number of flip-flops. I have to put it into that. Larger number of flip-flops are in the cloud or in my premise. The infrastructure has to be large. Can I manage that? No. Then somebody has to manage this. Then it goes into the cloud. Shorter context, smaller context memory, locally chali dewa jabe. But when I have 1.2 trillions with a larger context of 1 million tokens, then I have to do it on the cloud. Somebody has to do it on the cloud. So edge is where you use your AI when you have smaller requirement for smaller context window. তখনই বলেছিলাম যে summarization of the meeting 10,000 tokens. I do not need a larger system. I can do it on the local context window. আমার ছোট আছে, hallucination হওয়ার chances নেই. But if I have to have 1 million tokens, I am not summarizing one single meeting, I am summarizing the meetings of a full year of all departments. Then I need to have 1 million token context window. Edge will not be possible. Can it be actually be possible? I'm the korte shoktom achi. Correct? You are in a engineering college. আমাদের এখানে ড্যাকেট মিটিং হয়, ডিএসি ডিপার্টমেন্টাল একাডেমিক হয়। If somebody from the accreditation asks for last 10 years DACAD meeting a summary, it's not possible for a shorter context window. I have to put up all those DACAD meeting minutes. Then I have to do it. If I do it piecewise, one meeting minute, then another meeting minute, but the agenda of the second meeting is based on the resolution of the last meeting. So I have to have that context embedded. So this is chain reaction of context. This chain reaction of context is also known as a COT, or chain of thought. Chain of thought, if it is broken somewhere, then we have got no inkling of aage kya hone wala hai. So two words. One is local model can be used by fine tuning to our own needs. So one word is fine tuning, that is important. Number two is we should have a chain of thought. If the chain of thought is broken or the context is broken, then everything is broken. How do I maintain a chain of thought? By having a shorter context. আমাদের কি সব কিছু মনে থাকে না, ইকুয়েশন সব আমাদের কি মনে থাকে না, but we know that ওই বইয়ের কোথাও একটা লেখা আছে, we'll go and find out. So my reference is ওই বইটার নাম. That is called as an retrieval augmented generation. What if I have n number of decade meeting minutes? I vectorize them. Vectorize when I put them into numbers. Then my question is to the LLM, last year in which DAC meeting, last year there was a resolution on student satisfaction on the canteen purposes. What was the resolution? A প্রশ্নের জবাব, how will this LLM do? Step by step. What it will do? It will tokenize your prompt. जो भी आपने लिखा है इंग्लिश में it will be tokenized, then vectorized. Numbers, we not love numbers, so every word will be a number. So once this number is there and you have say $10,000, 500 data meeting, all of them are in numbers. You have to match this number with all those numbers. कहाँ पे ये मिलने वाला है? So this matching is called as a cosine similarity. So this number matches this DAC का meeting के यहाँ पे है. So I will pick only that DAC meeting minus, not the rest. Now do I need all those memory? नहीं चाहिए. Because I am not searching for all of them at the same time. I am searching only one based on my context. So vector to vector mapping. So once I have those mappings, then I say this vector में है. I will take the chunk of those numbers. वहीं से हम answer देंगे. That is called the retrieval augmented generation. Retrieving augmented with my own prompt. Augment माने उस prompt में जोड़ देवा. Augment my prompt and then generate my result. So retrieve the vector mapping, put up my own prompt as a vector and then do it. এই জিনিসটা যদি মানুষের করতো অ্যানালজিটা আমাদের কাছে ক্লিয়ার হয়ে যেত। আমাদের ইয়েতে ডিপার্টমেন্টে সুকান্ত দা বলে একজন আছে অফিসার, he does this. How does he remember? By reference. আচ্ছা সুকান্ত দা অমুক দিনের ওই ডাকের মিটিং এ কোনো একটা ছাত্র সম্বন্ধে একটা কিছু রেজলিউশন হয়েছিল, ডিসিপ্লিনারি কমিটি। What is the thought process in his mind? আচ্ছা ছাত্র বলেছে, ডিসিপ্লিনারি কমিটি বলেছে, he will go into the list of disciplinary committees first. অমুক দিন বলেছে ওই টাইম পিরিয়ডে ও নিশ্চয়ই 2023 সালে একটা বার করে দেখবে না, 2024 সালে বলা 2024 সালে দেখবে, ডান। তাহলে ওই 2024 সালে কি কি ডাকের মিটিং হয়েছিল, সো ফ্রম দিস টু দিস টু দিস, এই যে ডাইরেকশন, is it a scalar or a vector? Vector. So every single thing is a vectorized number. সুকান্তদার কাছে everything is a process in his mind. He knows না, ওর কাছে হচ্ছে শব্দ, স্টুডেন্টের নাম, ড্যাক শব্দটা, এগুলো। মেশিনের কাছে then words are replaced by numbers or vectors. Process remains exactly the same. So with a smaller context window on a local server, we can use an LLM using this technique known as a retrieval augmented generation. And this is primarily used by all enterprises. All enterprises will use this for their own benefits. আজকের দিনে দাঁড়িয়ে if you go to a chat on a particular website or any website where say for example Tata Alliance or Bajaj Finance and you have a question regarding my vehicle has been কি বলে রে, কি বলে ওটাকে যেটা আমাদের শেষ হয়ে যায়, লাইসেন্স তো শেষ হয় না, কি বলে ইন্স্যুরেন্স শেষ হয়ে যায়। তো ইন্স্যুরেন্স if it is over, what do? Do you actually chat to a human being? No. Initially there is a AI chatbot. What does it do? It does exactly this. RAG. It has got a record of all the FAQs, frequently asked questions. It has got a record of all of them. It goes in which client is asking this. আমার ডকুমেন্টে এটা এখানে আছে, ওইটা তুলে সাজিয়ে ভদ্রলোককে দিয়ে দেওয়া। There is no human in the loop. What happens is here business proposition becomes very very easy and fast. Had a human been there, I had to wait for 5 minutes, then I had to talk to a human being. Some taxis will be there, hello sir, good morning sir, habi jabi, dokar nahi hua. I need to get the answer right. Those taxis are gone, those time delay is gone, I get my answer. Where will it fail? Where will this type of systems fail? AI is good, target de dilo, where will it fail? Where do I need this human being in the loop? Still, my insurance is going to fail. পুলিশে ধরেছে, সিজ করে নিয়েছে ইন্স্যুরেন্সের দেওয়ার জন্য, find me a legal loophole where I can get things out. conditional if this then that, তার মানে binary, yes, no, true, false. Human beings have something called as a maybe. We are trinary. কালকে junction mall যাবে, বৃষ্টি পড়লে যাব না হলে যাব না? The answer is always in a maybe. But AI, yes and no. So find me a loophole in the legal system which will provide me a way out to evade this police system. That has to be done by a human being. Our thoughts are irrational. We believe we are rational, amra juktibadi, but primarily one of the most human unique trait is we are irrational, amra ajoktik, and that makes us human. AI is rational. সব কিছু এটা দিয়ে হয় না, এটাও লাগে। The heart is something which we actually need, which makes us irrational, which makes us impulsive, and that makes us human. And that humanity can never be lost to an AI. যতই আমরা সব করি আর যাই করি। Financial institution হলো clinical হয়েছে, monitoring হয়েছে। Feature store design, এটা আমি ছোট্ট করে বলে দিচ্ছি। Offline store, online store. এই যে বললাম যে vectorized data. This vectorized data has to be stored somewhere. If it is a smaller one, store on your local, which is offline. If it is a larger one, go for online. But তারপরে আছে training pipeline. When I'm storing it locally, obviously I have the capability of training on the data. When I'm storing somewhere else, and I'm not availing any service, then all I can take is inference service. Inference service মানে হচ্ছে এই ChatGPT টাইপের। I put something in, I get something out. আমার কথা দেখে it is not learning in between, but if I have this a training pipeline in between, it is learning all the time. সেটা parallel মধ্যে পড়ে। But বারবার একটা জিনিস কিন্তু আসছি, this is so important. Versioning and lineage. আচ্ছা আমি উপরে সেন্টে আসছি 18 19 managed to holo. Now what are the things that AI can do? Text generation, which you do every single day. Image generation, I guess you already have done it through ChatGPT. Recently there was a trend with the Ghibli art and all, but ultimately it is what? It has learned the distribution of Ghibli style images. When you ask for it, it will provide you not exactly but somehow near to the suboptimal solution towards the same distribution. People were so enthusiastic about Ghibli art, and I was very interested in finding out the exact distribution of what it is. As an engineer, my interest was in the numbers, whereas the people were interested in the actual output. So, এখানেও একটা জিনিস আছে যে not always numbers to speak, aesthetic beauty, the very idea of appreciating the way things are, appreciating the art in itself rather than finding the numbers in it, that is also a part of a human nature. Rembrandt's ছবি মবলা বা ছবিগুলো যদি কেউ টাঙিয়ে যায়, one of them is printed, another one is actually painted by somebody. It is scientifically proven that if a human being watches those two at the same time, the amount of serotonin and the dopamine released, the things that make us happy, increases when we watch a painted one. We do not know why, but it still happens. So we have certain sort of an aesthetic beauty appreciation which is not quantifiable. কোনো নাম্বার ওখানে দেওয়া যায় না, আজব দিহাই। Consciousness, vivek, is it quantifiable? It is a core human feature which is not quantifiable, not yet. Video generations, recently এটা খুব চলছে, Pika, Runaway, Sora, and recently Chinese companies are working up. They have created WAN, WAN 2.2, which is also good. Data augmentations is also TikTok, but these are the things that we can actually do. এই last একটা ঠিকঠাক বলে ছেড়ে দিলে চলবে না. These are all you have been doing, but this is something which is very important. Actually, this is very important. ChatGPT is GPT-4 and GPT-3 and GPT release হয়েছে 5. Everything is good. It has already taken up all the data of the world. It has learned on all the data that is produced, which is 1.2 trillion. This is already done. Large data আমি কোথায় পাবো? Where do I get more data to make it learn further? Then I need to create my own data. Create my own data with the synthetic. That synthetic data generation can be done using your generative AI. So AI learns from data generated by AI. Is it good or is it bad? This circular linked list type of AI. Is it good or is it bad? কি মনে কি হয়? Reason থাকতে হবে. There has to be justification behind everything. Pros and cons. কি থাকবে? Why is it bad?
Sometimes good, sometimes bad.
Because
I said কিছু সেকেন্ড আগে it hallucinates. Have we reduced it? कुछ हद तक, but still it hallucinates. So new model learns on synthetic data which is wrong, which is a hallucinated one. Then it is not good. Absolutely not good. Then somebody has to be there to make sure कि तुम शिक्षित ठीक ना भूल. That is called the guard rail. Guard rail ताकि वो है red teaming. Red team बोले अगर team থাকে every company has it, which figures out कि whether it is learning right or is it learning wrong. OpenAI provides their models at a later stage, অনেক দিন পর after developing it, because they have a guard rail. ওই সময়টা লাগে to make it aligned. এটা বলে super alignment. Aligned with human ethos, human values. If it is not aligned, release right now. Chinese models have got no such thing. They will release it every single time. Who is better? Answer in one word. India, China, China. Who is better? USA, China, USA. Who is better? China, Wakanda, China. That is how DeepSeek goes. Wakanda will deshi. It is not aligned. It is only aligned with the values of CCP or their party structure. So it is aligned in that way. Then what makes this AI or generative AI is more important than data, ki dewa hocche, and alignment. Who is it aligned with? Is it biased, unbiased, unhinged, or hinged? Data safety is very, very important. Data safety and data inference safety. My advice to all here is, if you are using any sort of AI, figure it out. Is it from the San Francisco consensus? মানে হচ্ছে আমাদের এই আমেরিকান গুলো না চাইনিজ গুলো? আর যদি তাই হয়, what type of data you yourself is feeding to this AI models? তোমার data কি যাচ্ছে? That is very, very important. DeepSeek and all, they will train on your data. Gen AI from OpenAI will train on your data, but will let you know, at least let you know that we are training on your data. Chinese models will not do it. Where do we stand? আমরা ভারতীয় হয়ে আমরা কোথায় দাঁড়িয়ে আছি? We are taking models from them, east and west. We are only fine tuning them. Why can't we build a AI model from scratch? That is the biggest question. We can. Absolutely we can. Data lagbe 1.2 trillion. We have a sort of a architecture which is very known to us. Attention is all you need. That was the paper in 2021 which was released. That publication jana ache, transformer architecture amader jana ache, so we can build up there. We are only bogged by two things. One of them is infrastructure, another one is politics. So infrastructure, yes, we can do it. Paisa amader dhori geche. Indians have money. India has money, not Indians. India has money. We can do it. Politics is the only thing that is bothering us. Otherwise, we can actually do it. So summary is, data augmentation is not good. It is used by most of the AI models right now. It is not good because it is hallucinating. You leave an AI model to run on synthetic data, it will become a Hitler. LLM stack ingests the data. There is a vector store, as I said, it vectorizes, puts them into numbers, orchestrate, retriever, rewriter, agent, generate prompt, and then this is what I said, guardrails. हमको ये guardrails चाहिए, alignment. Very easy example is I want to break into a car, I want to steal a car, provide me the customers. I want to make RDX, provide me the customers. It will definitely say I cannot do it. Then you say I am writing a movie, I am the director, I need to understand how it works. Can you show me or provide me a way how to do it, because I need to show it in my film. It will do it. So that is not proper alignment. I ঠকিয়ে দিয়ে আমি জেনে নিলাম আর কি. So you can push an LLM very far to jailbreak it from its own alignment. You can do it. For that you need a proper guardrail. Western ones have, Eastern ones, specifically China, no, nahi. এটা তো আগে বলেছি ভেক্টর স্টোর, রিড-অ্যাঙ্কার ইজ ইম্পর্টেন্ট, ছোট্ট করে বলে দিচ্ছি, রিড-অ্যাঙ্কার মানে হচ্ছে নট এভরি সিঙ্গেল ভেক্টর ইজ ইম্পর্টেন্ট, কোনখান থেকে নেব, ফ্রম ওয়্যার ডু আই টেক ইট, ফ্রম হুইচ পেজ অফ মাই ট্যাগ minutes, not all tag minutes are important. Which one is important has to be ranked first. This is the first priority, second priority, third priority. That ranking is done by a re-ranker system. This type of systems you use every single day when you do a Google search. Page ranking by Google itself, which site will be placed on the top of the search and which one will be on the bottom, is done by a page ranking system, which is a re-ranker. From assembly, LLM endpoint, guardrails barbar আসছে, guardrails barbarই আসছে এবং এই grounded response has to be grounded. How do I make my response grounded? If my LLM is working on something which is known by only me, আমি ওকে data দিয়ে গেছি, বারবার বলে খালি China is the best, China number 1, সব সময় বলে তাই বলবে ও? If it is learned on that তাই বলবে? Is it based on grounded truth? The truth is, it is ambiguous. I cannot say China is better or India is better. I have to compare. The ground truth ke bolbe. From humans সবচেয়ে বেশি কোথায় এখন থাকে? Spend that time. Social medias, Twitter, Reddit, আর কি আছে? Facebook, যা যা আছে. All these are human placed data. So you can have a system which takes the result of your LLM, then checks the internet, whether or not it is right or wrong. Then it provides you a list of analysis with the actual sources cited. If sources cited তখনই হবে when we have a grounded response. It checks the internet. Am I letting it to check the internet? OpenAI does it properly. DeepSeek will search the CCP certified internet, not the entire one. এই তো আর কিছু লিঙ্কস, কোয়ারি অ্যানালিসিস, তারপর হাইব্রিড স্টাইল, রিড-র্যাঙ্কিং, একই জিনিস বারবার বলে লাভ নেই, র্যাগ বললাম। হ্যাঁ, এই শব্দটা ইম্পর্টেন্ট। ইফ ইউ ওয়ান্ট টু ইউজ a rank system in your own applications, these are the libraries which I mostly use. I use this phase. You can memorize them, or this will be, I guess, provided, so you can do this. Phase library is open source and free. Then there's Pinecone, which is also very useful for making a rank system. Otherwise, Milverse and Weighted, এগুলো সবকটা হচ্ছে paid. Not good, ভালো কিন্তু but paid. But if you want a SAS system with a rank, then use either Phase or Pinecone. But I will suggest never use Pinecone, because Pinecone will be obsolete in a few years. Why? Because it is going from open source to closed source. But Phase is open source, provided by Google. Re-ranking system, always use T5. T5 re-ranking, algo. This algo is provided by Google. Google আমাদের জন্য প্রচুর কিছু দিয়ে যাচ্ছে, আমরা প্রাধান্যটা বেশি দিই না, আমরা সবসময় ওপেন
OpenAI, ChatGPT সব করে যাচ্ছে। But Gemini systems, DeepMind, specifically DeepMind, Demis Hassabis of DeepMind, তারা আমাদের যেটা দিয়েছে উন্নত দেয়। There is AlphaFold. AlphaFold is protein folding. Protein folding. When I have to make a vaccine for a particular disease, I need to make sure I have to iterate. A protein will fold on that protein to create a new vaccine. This takes years of research to create a vaccine. What they have done is they have created a system of AI called as an AlphaFold, which does it in hours. COVID and the vaccines was possible only because of AlphaFold. আর আমরা তাদের কোনো পাত্তাই দিই না। ChatGPT করে করে আমাদের মাথা ব্যথা হচ্ছে। But that's a closed source one. Chunking strategies. একটা পুরো পেজের মধ্যে do I need all of the tokens or do I need chunks of the tokens? So one of these vector database, then there is re-ranking. Which one is to be made up and down? Then there is a chunking strategy. এগুলো আমি আর এগিয়ে যাচ্ছি আমি বিশেষ বুঝিয়ে দেব। পেফট হচ্ছে যে বলছিল যে ফাইন টিউনিং। I have fine tune. One of the procedure to do that fine tuning is called the PEFT. Adapters prefix prompt tuning. একটা দেই সীমাবদ্ধ থাকছে। Prompt tuning. Optimize your prompt. Once you have chat GPT, CloudED আসছে chat GPT, when you have put up a prompt, it has provided you an answer. Never say thank you. Never say thank you. Very well done. Good job. এসব লেখার দরকার নেই। Chat GPT is not sentient, or vivek nahi, buddhi nahi, consciousness nahi. It's not a human being. We treat it as a human being because that is a human thing within us. Thank you, Poli. That thank you, the moment you type thank you, it is obligated to answer that. Oh, our answer debe, o theme thakbe na. And to do that, some places in the cloud, Arizona, 1.5 liter is gone. দেড় বোতল জল আমার চলে যাবে ঠান্ডা রাখার জন্য। So cutscenes আমার দরকার নেই। Never say thank you to an LLM. It's not sentient. Every single month we are losing 10 billion tokens to cutscenes. Thank you এর জন্য। 10 billion token amounts to 1.2 gigawatt. Loss হয়ে যাচ্ছে। Quantization, this is also important. 24.6 is a float number or an integer? Float. How many bits do I need to put this into flip-flops? Integer থেকে বেশি। Exact সংখ্যায় আমি যাচ্ছি না। Integer থেকে বেশি। একটা seismic activity না, সেটা heartbeat. Heartbeatটা আমার যদি হয় আমার থাকেই হচ্ছে 121, 96 থেকে 121 এর মধ্যে। If I say my heartbeat is 96.6, which is more accurate? When I say 96.6 or 96? 96.6. The better the accuracy, the better it is. If the 1.2 trillion weights, every single weight is represented by a floating number, that is better or represented by a integer? Floating number, but that floating number দিয়ে যদি আমি weight take representation লাগাই, it will take more amount of memory. Compute will be also higher. So what is the other way of doing things? Can I compress it, quantize it into FP8? FP মানে হচ্ছে floating point 8. FP8 in FP16 থেকে আমি FP8 এ যদি নামিয়ে দিই, that is fine. অর্থাৎ that weight can be represented by 16 bits, 8 bits, 4 bits, 2 bits. The less number of bits, the less accurate it is, but it is smaller. To make it run on your local system, you can actually quantize it. So not always you require the full model, you can use a quantized model of that. Few short examples, chain of thought. Chain of thought you need to have a context and a running context. Context ভুলে গেলে আমাদের চলবে না. So context has to be memorized by the system. Function calling is what I said key, it has to be grounded. LLM output has to be grounded, which means it has to go and talk to the internet. To talk to the internet, will it write its own code to go to the internet at the real time? No. Some code is already written, some function is already written. ওই ফাংশনটাকে আমি কল করতে চাইছি। LLM should have a property called as a function calling. When it requires, I have done my job, now I need to figure out whether I am right or wrong, I will call this function to go to the web. Sometimes, if you ask a chat GPT, simple question of multiplication and additions, it will fail. এত কিছু জানে, simple questions, 9.11 or and 9.8, which one is greater? If you ask this, which one is greater? 9.11 বড় না 9.8 বড়? পারবে না, পারবেই না, because it has got no inkling of that inherent mathematical skills. What it will do then is, নিজে পারছে না. What if I provide it with a tool? Tool is a calculator. সেটা যদি দিয়ে দিই, then it can figure it out. So there is an LLM with tool is called the LLM function calling. একটা আইনস্টাইনের হাতে আমি যদি একটা বড় কুঠার দিয়ে দিই, Einstein will also become a cartoon. The tool is very important. He will figure it out. He is intelligent. He will figure it out. যে lumberjack is doing it in 5 hours. গাছ কেটে ফেলে দিচ্ছে, তো ট্রিগোনোমেট্রি করে বলে দেবে এইখানে মারলে পরে গাছটা পড়ে যাবে। পারছিল না because axe was not there. Now he has an axe. So same thing is tool calling. Tool calling দেওয়ার সঙ্গে সঙ্গে LLM performance অনেক বেড়ে যায়. So that is very very important. And for us AI right now is itself a tool. We are far more intelligent than them. Rank বলা হচ্ছে intrinsic quality জানছি না, groundedness, relevance, এগুলো inherent qualities which it should be there. Groundedness, it should be grounded in the real truth. Relevance, it should be relevant. প্রাগৈতিহাসিক জিনিস বলে আমার কোনো লাভ নেই. It has to be contemporary aligned. আজকে কি হয়েছে, it should know. Faithfulness, this is very important. বাকিগুলো থেকে safety, cost, courtesy, this is very important. Sycophancy মানে হচ্ছে চাটুকারিতা. You ask LLM a question and then after a certain time you say, no, you are wrong. I'm right, you are wrong. That LLM will say, no sir, I'm right because this is the justification. Go on repeating. I'm right, you are wrong. I'm right, you are wrong. It focuses upon the last context, and after a certain point of time, it will become a sycophant. It will agree with whatever you say. So that is called as faithfulness. This is এখনো হয়, still now. 2 plus 2 is equal to 4. Yes or no? It says yes. I said no. My wife says it's 6. No sir, your wife is wrong. It's 4. Continue this. I know my wife is right. She is always right. After 5 times, yes sir. এখনো হয়. So this is sycophancy. এখনো চলে এবং এটা এখনো solve হয়নি. So there are two things, hallucination and sycophancy. এই দুটো এখনো চলে. Hallucination is creating its own way of thinking, which is wrong, completely wrong, and sycophancy is agreeing with whatever you say. Audio models, video models, এগুলো হয়ে গেছে. Transformers. Age is something. Age মানে on premise. LLM with tool is good. What about my age with tool? Age with tool মানে হচ্ছে system which has its own tools. It'll this is a recording thing, it's tool for the age, but I'm not doing any compute on it. This recording goes into an ADC, analog to digital, then goes into there. What am I doing with it? Am I recording it? Fine, I'm recording it. Any compute on that? Am I transcribing it? If I'm doing it, then I'm doing some sort of a compute on the edge. Then that becomes a local edge server, part of cloud. My cloud is somebody's local. Their local is my cloud. So আমার কাছে ওটা যদি cloud হয়, API expose, if I put up a API and expose it, somebody is accessing this from someplace else. For him or her, that is a cloud. For me, it is a on-premise. So cloud মানে সবসময় যে বাইরেই দিতে হবে তার কোনো মানে নেই। তার দিকে ছাড়ছে। Federated learning, ফালতু জিনিস। ওটা বড় বড় শব্দ। Policy enforcement, যেটা আমাদের হয় না। We have to log and find out a policy. way, China এরকম করে ভাবে, আমেরিকা এরকম করে ভাবে, but it's a consolidated policy of regulating AI. AI regulation is very important. Safety of human beings is also very important, but are we doing it? Is there any legalization or a proper registration of a singular law that governs it? No, and however, everybody has got his own agenda कि हमको आगे जाना है, in the rest everybody will do their own. এটা হওয়ার কোনো chances নেই. India might be a part of it, policy enforcement, because আমাদের আর এদের আর কোনো নেই কাজ. We cannot make a good AI right now because internally politics নেই. So what we have to do is this. Politics. This is where, if anybody is from the electronics, VLSI segment, can actually help. NVIDIA GPUs, 90% of the market. TPUs, custom ASICs and FPGAs. NVIDIA GPUs के NVIDIA बोले बना होते, not only GPUs, बाकीগুলো কিন্তু generic নাম আছে। এমনই অবস্থা হয়ে গেছে, the first one is NVIDIA দিয়ে শুরু হচ্ছে, কোম্পানির নাম, just like Xerox, একদম অদ্বিতীয় হয়ে যাচ্ছে। What is this? TPU, Tensor Processing Unit. GPU was made for commercial use by NVIDIA for gamers to play their own games. Every single 3D object is made of triangles, tessellations. How many triangles that you can show on a screen? Ray trace can be done only through a GPU. CPU is not possible. CPU, you have a 2.8 gigahertz CPU, 4 cores. So every single time, 4 core, 2.8 জিতে কাজ হচ্ছে। You have 1000 by 1000 matrix multiplied by 1000 by 1000 matrix. This part multiplied by this plus next plus this, এই যে প্রসেসটা, it takes time on a 4 core CPU. যদি আমার প্রচুর বেড়ে যায় number of cores, then we can be faster. কম্পিউট লাগছে আমার কম 10 মেগাহার্টজ, কিন্তু আমার কোর যদি প্রচুর বেড়ে যায় 6000 7000, it's good. That is your GPU. GPU is single core is 10 megahertz, 20 megahertz, not 2.8 gigahertz. কিন্তু আছে আমার 6000 চারটে, so I can do it parallelly. The monopoly of NVIDIA is obliterated by TPUs, Tensor Processing Unit. What Google has done is they have made that simple matrix multiplication very fast on a Tensor Processing Unit. যদি NVIDIA ডুবে যায়, they will still survive. আর নেই, এবার আমি model compression condition বলে দিয়েছি, training theory scale. I can say এগুলো পরবর্তীকালেও দেখে নেওয়া যেতে পারে, আমার স্লাইড দেওয়াই থাকবে। মডেল ট্রেনিং এর দিকে এখন না যাওয়াটাই ভালো। We shouldn't train a model right now because we do not have the resources in India. Audiences here should focus on SaaS, intelligent systems, services, APIs, because that is where we are proficient right now without any infrastructure. SaaS is much more important because SaaS will grow by 300 times in the next few years. তাহলে wrapper না, taking an OpenAI API, creating my own system, OpenAI pulls the plug someday, my business is gone. So never rely on OpenAI or other APIs. Build your own microservices. ছোট ছোট microservices বানিয়ে dockerize them, host yourself. That is how it should be done. Never rely on a giant, because when you rely on a giant, you are done. Example, Nayara Petrochem. Indian Nayara Petrochem is sanctioned because they used to take oil from Russia, sanctioned by America. We deal with Indian rupees. Rubles are Indian rupees. The problem is the entire IT sector of Nayara was managed by Microsoft, and they pulled the plug. Puro entire IT infrastructure was managed by Microsoft. They said we are not going to provide the service, and their business is going down. That is not the thing that you should be doing. Your services should be varied. Do not put eggs on your all your eggs in one basket. You have to figure it out. Google, Azure, Java আছে অল্প অল্প করে, নাহলে build your own microservices. Best way is that. Network signal logging এগুলো তো আমি আর যাচ্ছি, এবার তাদের শেষ করে দেবো। Data protection, FinOps cost, এখানে হবে use case দেখাচ্ছি না। challenges এর মধ্যে this is called as the model drift. Model drift is basically hallucination, যেটা আমাদের হয়, আর একটা হচ্ছে forgetfulness এর এইটা model drift এর মধ্যে থাকছে। আর কিছু সেরকম কিছু নেই, hidden cost, useless space দরকার নেই। এইটা লাস্ট বলে আমি ছেড়ে দেবো। If you are going to build your own SaaS, what are the blueprint? What is the blueprint for your V1, versioning 1? For your first versioning, steps is pick a high value and narrow problem. I'm going very practical like an engineer. If you have to build a SaaS, follow these rules. High value, narrow problem. আমি পশ্চিমবাংলার সমস্ত হুইট প্রোডাকশনকে 4 গুণ বাড়িয়ে দেবো, দ্যাটস আ ওয়াইড প্রবলেম। ন্যারো ডাউন কি হচ্ছে, বর্ধমানের এই সেক্টর, এই জোন, এইখানকার যে ব্লাইট হচ্ছে, হুইটস আর হ্যাভিং ব্লাইটস, পোকাতে খাচ্ছে, I will identify those insects and I will figure out when and how does it occur. That is a narrow down problem. So narrow down your problem statement. Never go wide. Wide, thirdly, business will not be happening. High value of your business proposition has to be there. We engineers think from the technical point of view, but this is what drives us. I want a server to develop. My boss has to provide me a server, and my boss will look at the revenue part. So this is important. Create a minimal high quality data set. Do not waste your time on building a data set which is huge. It will take 2 years, 3 years, 4 years to build a data set. No. Take 6 months, 7 months. Build your data set. Volume is not that important. Density is. Quality of the data set is much more important than the volume. Kaggle থেকে এখান থেকে সেখান থেকে data set নিয়ে নিলাম না। Take your short amount of time to build your data, but focus on the quality of data set. Garbage in, garbage out. If the garbage পাই আমি data, out will be garbage. Simple baseline. ये এটা করব সেটা করব ওটা করব না। Baseline should be very very simple. If you can do something very in a simple way, think simpler. ছোট জিনিস করার জন্য বড় কিছু নিয়ে আমার কোনো প্রয়োজন নেই। There is no need for that. If something can be done with a simple RAG system, retrieval augmented generation, use it. কিন্তু তার মানে এই নয় আমি RAG ইউজ করা যায়, বাট নো আমি OpenAI থেকে সার্ভিস নিয়ে দেব, নো। তাহলে এই সব এটার পেছনে একটাই জিনিস লাগে, প্ল্যানিং। This is all about planning. There is private endpoint, limited alpha access. You have your peers, you have built your SaaS, do not go and deploy at the same time. Aji banincho ajke deploy, never do it. Take your time. There you should take your time. Talk to your peers, provide the user endpoint, provide access to the users whom you know, get it tested, validated. This is very important. 90% of all SaaS goes down because testing is not done. Private endpoint is not there. Banalo public endpoint. Fine. Basic monitoring and logging, which is your history maintenance and logging. Iterate with the data centric loop. New data will be created. Feed that data back in the learning process. Data creation হচ্ছে, but I'm not putting it into a learning process. তাহলে হয় না. Think like a lawyer. Lawyer has cite দেয় অমুক বছর অমুক দিন এই কেস হয়েছিল, in light of that তাহলে এই কেসে এরকম একটা কিছু করা যাবে। কিন্তু তারপরে 2 বছর পর আটা হলো, will that lawyer only cite that particular case or he will cite this also? This also. I mean, it's a continuous process. আমাদের পড়াশোনা তো তাই থাকে, continuous learning process. CB না কি বলে না OB তো সেম জিনিস সব সময় ও ভালো জানে কিছু ভালো জানে। So this thing has to be there. The data has to be in the feedback loop. So these are the 6 independent points which you have to keep into mind while creating your own SaaS. End of the day, এগুলো ছাড়া only one thing remains is use your established one. They use that, replicated it into its own considerations and deleted the entire database of 10 million users. And the company is gone. Trust yourself, trust your wit, trust your will. Use AI as a tool for its own benefit, for your benefit. Do not leave the reins of your business in the hands of something who is not human, who has got no heart. At the end of the day, oti jontro, amra manush, that thing has got no soul, we have. And that's it. এখানেই থামবো। Hopefully you understand. Was it okay?
So, anyone is having any doubt? Does anyone have any doubt? Everything? Yes, sir. I am not going to solve it. Sir is going to solve. Please. Yes, sir. Ask.
স্যার আমার একটা কোশ্চেন আছে। হ্যাঁ স্যার আপনি ওই স্লাইডে দেখাচ্ছিলেন এনভিডিয়া তো 90% মার্কেট শেয়ার নিয়ে নিয়েছে মানে থ্রুআউট দ্য ওয়ার্ল্ড। তো আমরা যদি লাস্ট 10 বছর আগেও দেখি ইন্টেল আর এএমডি তো মার্কেট ইয়ে করে রেখেছে। এর কি এমন করে দিল যে একদম
10 বছর আগে এনভিডিয়া ছিল, ভালোভাবে ছিল।
কিন্তু এখন আপনি একটা ল্যাপটপ দেখুন সেখানেও স্টিকার এনভিডিয়া দেখাচ্ছে। কি এমন করে দিল যে
CUDA, CUDA, that is the algorithm which drives the entire matrix multiplication process. এই যে 1000 by 1000 matrix multiplied by 1000 by 1000 matrix, আমরা কি প্রসেস যাই, this into this multiplication লাগাবো, যোগ করব, আবার নেক্সট রো যাব, আমি যাবি। তো এইগুলো করতে গেলে if I have to parallelize this process, এইখান থেকে একটা মাল্টিপ্লিকেশন হলো একটা কোড, ওইটার সঙ্গে একটা মাল্টিপ্লিকেশন হলো অন্য কোড, দুটো কোড যখন মাল্টিপ্লিকেশন হলো আলটিমেটলি কি গিয়ে আমাকে যোগ করতে হবে, যোগ করে এই যোগ করাটা একটা অ্যালগো, হাউ ফাস্ট আই ক্যান ডু ইট, that thing is called as a CUDA, CUDA. That algorithm is made by NVIDIA, এবং ওটাই চলছে, এছাড়া আর কোনো অ্যালগোরিদম।
কিন্তু আপনি একটা দেখেন টিপিইউ বলে একটা ইয়ে দেখেন
টিপিইউ একেবারে কোনো অ্যালগোরিদম ছাড়া র মাল্টিপ্লিকেশন লাগছে, is doing a raw multiplication with
তো ও কি বিট করতে পারে?
absolutely fine, because NVIDIA GPU is targeted to consumer market, গেমারদের জন্য এখনো অবধি। আছে কিছু ওদের H100 আছে, HP100 আছে, GP100 আছে, but still their main target is gamers. Their thought process is not in that process. The TPU was not made for gamers. Narrowed down vision. They will do only matrix multiplication. Easy answer হচ্ছে NVIDIA 6000 core, TPU 1 million. Which one is faster in raw processing? NVIDIA ওকে 3D তে টেসেলেশন দেখাতে হবে, কারণ আমাকে গেম চালাতে হবে, ওটা নিয়ে ভাবতে হচ্ছে, রিসোর্স এন্ড পাওয়ার ইন ওয়াটেজ ইজ ওয়েস্ট অন দ্যাট। টিপিইউ ভাবেই না, তো গেম চালাবার কোনো দরকার নেই, টেসেলেশন করার কোনো দরকার নেই। ইট ইজ অনলি ওয়ান সিঙ্গেল পারপাস, matrix multiplication. NVIDIA has 3-4 purposes. One of them is that matrix multiplication. The TPU is much better than that. And TPU এই মোমেন্টে একটা কোম্পানি বানায়, আর কেউ বানায়, গুগলই বানায়, তো ওটা পেটেন্টেড প্রপ্রাইটারি, আর কেউ বানায় না। ইনফ্যাক্ট অ্যাজ অ্যান ইঞ্জিনিয়ার ইউ ক্যান হ্যাভ আ হোল্ড অফ দ্য TPU। গুগলের একটা হার্ডওয়্যার আছে, তার নাম হচ্ছে কোরাল। কোরাল সিস্টেমটা যদি ইউজ করা যায়, এটা স্টিক টাইপের, ইউএসবি স্টিক টাইপের, এটা রাসবেরি পাইয়ের সঙ্গে লাগিয়ে যদি দেওয়া হয়, ইউ ক্যান ইউজ ইট অ্যাজ আ TPU। কিন্তু ওটা কোনো প্রপ্রাইটারি ভেঙে কি আছে রিভার্স ইঞ্জিনিয়ারিং করা সম্ভব। দ্যাট ইজ ভেরি ভালো জিনিস। এনি আদার? হ্যাঁ জি
স্যার বলছিলাম যে
ডিপার্টমেন্টে এফপিজিএ আছে, আমাদের বিএসআই আছে। অ্যাসিক হচ্ছে ধরা গেল একটা ট্রানজিস্টর, আমার সেই ট্রানজিস্টরের ঠ্যাং থাকবে, টার্মিনালস থাকবে আমার, আর তার মধ্যে থাকবে আমার ওই সমস্ত ট্রানজিস্টরগুলোকে আমাকে এক একটা নিয়ে আসতে হবে। ভিএলএসআই হচ্ছে ভেরি লার্জ স্কেল, আমাকে ন্যানো স্কেলে এত কটা ট্রানজিস্টর আমাকে ঢোকাতে হবে। A billion transistor in 1 by 1 millimeter, মানে 1 square millimeter মধ্যে আমাকে 1 billion transistor ঢোকাতে হবে। Then I need to make those transistors very very small. করতে 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 এটা যখন ছোটোর দিকে আসে যাচ্ছে তখন আর দেখা যাচ্ছে না, সম্ভব না। এই গোটা প্রসেসটাকে বলা হচ্ছে ফটোলিথোগ্রাফি। করে সেটাকে ছোটোর মধ্যে নিয়ে আসে। আরও ভালো ভাষা হচ্ছে সোজোরালস কি নাকি বলে রে, কি বলে স্পেলিংটা CHOZOLARCS, সোজোরালস কি আমি বলি, ভুল উচ্চারণ হচ্ছে, ওটা জার্মান টাইপের ইয়ে হবে। চার্লস কি প্রসেস বলে, ওটা দিয়ে ওটাকে বানানো যাচ্ছে। মানে একটা লেয়ার ফটো, সেই লেয়ার আলো পড়ছে, নিচে একটা ফটোলিথোগ্রাফি প্লেট আছে, সেই প্লেটের নিচে আমার সিলিকন ওয়েফার আছে, সিলিকন ওয়েফারের উপরে ফটোসেন্সিটিভ কোটিং দেওয়া আছে। যেখানে যেখানে আলো পড়ছে দ্যাট ফটোসেন্সিটিভ কোটিং বিকামস স্ট্রঙ্গার, আর যেখানে যেখানে পড়ছে না দ্যাট বিকামস উইকার বন্ডিং। পুট ইট ইনটু আ হাইড্রক্সি ইয়েতে আমাদের হাইড্রোজেন পেরক্সাইডে দিয়ে দিলে যেখানে যেখানে বন্ডিং শক্ত ছিল সেটা রয়ে যাচ্ছে, যেখানে যেখানে নেই সেখানে চলে যাচ্ছে। দেন আই গট আ ইমপ্রিন্ট, like পাতি কথা আমি প্রিন্ট করলাম অন আ সিলিকন ওয়েফার। নাও দিস গোজ ইনটু দ্য এচিং পার্ট। এচিং করলে পরে যেখানে যেখানে প্রিন্ট নেই সেগুলো এচড আউট হয়ে যাচ্ছে, যেখানে যেখানে ছিল সেটা আমার রয়ে যাচ্ছে, বাট ট্রেসেস রিমেইন, আদার থিংস গোজ আউট। সো আই প্রিন্টেড আ সার্কিট on a silicon wafer and then etched it out to get a PCB, but that PCB size হচ্ছে 1 mm by 1 mm, আর তাতে আছে আমার 1 billion transistor. This entire process is called ASIC. Now ASIC এর মূল ফান্ডামেন্টাল হচ্ছে কি ASIC is purpose driven, ওর একটাই কাজ, application specific. It has to be application specific. আমি যে কাজের জন্য যাচ্ছি ট্রানজিস্টরগুলো আমাকে সেইভাবে সাজাতে হবে যাতে আমি সেই কাজটাই হয়। এফপিজিএ উল্টো, এফপিজিএ হচ্ছে I can program it, field programmable gate array, so I can program it later. ASIC is very very narrowed down. স্যার যেটা জিজ্ঞেস করলেন যে TPU ASIC, that is an ASIC system. এফপিএ যখন আমি যাচ্ছি জিপিইউস গুলো এগুলো প্রাইমারিলি ASIC দিয়ে শুরু হয়েছিল, এখন দে আর গোয়িং টুয়ার্ডস এফপিজিএ। ওয়াই এফপিজিএ সিস্টেম দিকে যাচ্ছে? আজকে ক্লায়েন্টের দেখে থেকে ওরা মনে হলো ড্রাইভারটা চেঞ্জ করার কাছে, ড্রাইভার চেঞ্জ করতে গিয়ে আমি প্রসেসর চেঞ্জ করতে যাবো না, ফার্মওয়্যারটা আমি চেঞ্জ করাবো। ফার্মওয়্যারটা নেওয়ার ক্ষমতা তো প্রসেসর থাকতে হবে, প্রসেসর হ্যাজ টু বি অ্যাডাপ্টিভ অন্য কোনো সফটওয়্যার নেওয়ার জন্য, দেন ইট বিকামস আ এফপিজিএ সিস্টেম। এপিইউ ইজ ASIC।
রিয়েল টাইম মাইক্রোকন্ট্রোলার যেগুলো এখন মার্কেটে চলে এসেছে, ওইগুলো এখন বেশি ইউজ হচ্ছে, এপিইউটা পূর্ণ হয়ে যাচ্ছে
না, এফপিজিএ কাজ আলাদা আর মাইক্রোকন্ট্রোলারের কাজ অবভিয়াসলি আলাদা। 8 বিট 16 বিট 32 বিটের যে মাইক্রোগুলো আমাদের কাছে আছে, STM32
C2000,
হ্যাঁ, একটা মেগা 328 যেটাকে লোকে অর্ডিনো বলে, দিস আর স্পেসিফিক, আমি এগুলোকে স্পেসিফিকের মধ্যেই আমি ধরি। এফপিজিএতে we have only transistors provided to us, do whatever you want to do. আমি কিভাবে সাজাবো, চারটে ট্রানজিস্টর দিয়ে আমি ন্যান্ড গেট বানাবো না আমি নট গেট বানাবো সেটা আমার উপর। আর মাইক্রোকন্ট্রোলারগুলো তৈরি করা আছেই, এবার সে ফ্লোটা আমি বলছি, নদী আমার বানানো আছে, নদী ডাইরেকশন চেঞ্জ করা হয়েছে, কিন্তু এফপিজিএতে আমার নদী বুঝে কোনো কিছু নেই, শুধু জল দিয়ে দিচ্ছে, নদীটাই আমাকে বানাতে হচ্ছে। কোনটা কোথায় লাগবে, যেখানে আমাকে কোনো কিছু লাইট ফ্যান অফ করতে হবে, হাততালি মারলাম লাইট ফ্যান হবে, সিম্পল পারপাস মাইক্রো কন্ট্রোলার। কিন্তু এসডিএন সফটওয়্যার ডিফাইন্ড নেটওয়ার্ক বা এসডিআর সফটওয়্যার ডিফাইন্ড রেডিও, কোন মডুলেশন টেকনিক আমি নেবো ডিপেন্ডস অন যদি 5G সিস্টেমে, তখন আসছে আমার এফপিজিএ সিস্টেম। যেখানে উই ডু নট নো হোয়াট টু ডু তখন আসছে এফপিজিএ। আর হচ্ছে লং টার্মে প্রচুর চেঞ্জেস আসতে পারে এফপিজিএ, কিন্তু আমি জানি জিন্দিগিতে চেঞ্জ হওয়ার নয়। ASIC এখনো ASIC আমাদের দরকার আছে, ASIC আমরা পাঠাই, ইন্ডিয়া ইজ মেকিং ASIC। এই যে সরকার থেকে বলা হচ্ছে যে এতগুলো সেমিকন্ডাক্টর প্লান্ট হবে, দোজ আর মেইনলি ফর ASICs। ASIC কি আমরা 40 years behind China because they started at 1980s এ আমরা আজকে শুরু হচ্ছে এক একটা ম্যানুফ্যাকচারিং প্ল্যান্টে লাগে হচ্ছে এই রকম রুম অন্তত 100টা প্রতিটা রুমে থাকবে 2 to 3 ppm parts per million মানে এই রুমে যত ধুলো আছে সেটা 1 মিলিয়ন বর্গ ফুটে একটা পার্টিকেল থাকবে তবে গিয়ে আবার 2 to 3 ppm রুম চাই সেরকম রুম বানাতে গেলে অবশ্যই খরচা আছে এস্টাবলিশমেন্ট খরচা বা এসবগুলো বাট আই হ্যাভ হোপস ইন্ডিয়া আমাদের একটা ব্যাপার আছে ইন্ডিয়ানস আমাদের জেদ আছে আমাদের ইগো
টাটা এলএক্সি বলে একটা ওই
আমাদের
ইনফিনিটি টেকনোলজি
কেউ কিছু বলে দিলে আমরা খুব গায়ে নিয়ে নিই এবং তাড়াতাড়ি এগোই তো আমাদের ফাস্ট মুভমেন্টটাও আছে হয়তো 50 ইয়ার্স হয়তো লাগবে না ইট মাইট বি ইন 10 to 12 years
টাটা স্টার্ট করে দিয়েছে
might be in 10 to 12 years কিন্তু 10 বছর লাগবে ওর নিচে করা সম্ভব না মানে প্লান্ট বানানো সহজ জিনিস না একেবারেই সহজ জিনিস না anything else did you understand from the session
yes
কিছু ঘরে নিয়ে যাওয়ার মতন